What I'm going to show you today is how to make your own bungs or strike indicators. They can be used on river or lake essentially. Sometimes just to control depth, but they definitely have their uses on again both river and lake. The problem with the ones you buy, it's a bit like buying flies. You're restricted by size and also quality. I think by making your own you can have a bit more quality control, but also it's a bit like flies again. It's great fun to catch on something you've essentially made yourself. Even though you're not going to catch on these, they certainly may help you catch. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to make these indicators and bungs the way I make them, and hopefully you'll be able to take them into the field and make good use of them. There's a couple of features which make these a bit unique, but also quite long lasting. Anyway, I'm going to talk through that as we go through the construction process. So that's you see just a wide different range of sizes and a couple of different colors in there as well. So the first thing, you need some foam cylinders. You can cut them yourself if you wanted to from a foam block, or you can just make buy these booby eyes foam cylinders, whatever you choose. Basically, there's a load of different stuff, a load of different sizes, diameters, colors. I prefer the higher density foam. It tends to be a bit more hard wearing. But also from a buoyancy perspective as well, you do tend to get a better, more buoyant bung or indicator. So I'm going to start off with this one. So what we're going to do is, quite simply, we don't need the full length, so we're probably going to use. You could make, if I was being really careful, I could probably make 3 out of 1, but actually just for the purpose of this video I'm just going to make 2. Okay, so I'm just going to snip that. And what we do then is we're going to round off the bottom end to create a bit of a cone shape. Okay, so I'm just going to trim around. Curved scissor points help with this as well. Just keep trimming around, try and do equal cuts each time, both in terms of how deep you go into the cylinder, but also the length of the cut. Okay, so that's pretty good. You see how it's all been trimmed off. You can round that off even by rubbing it between your fingers. It heats it up slightly and actually does smooth off the edges somewhat. Anyway, what we're doing, that's going to be perfect. And what do you see as well, I leave a pretty flat section at the bottom. You'll probably see that there. There's a reason for that, which I will explain in a minute. Anyway, so that's done. The next thing you'll need are some tippet rings. You want pretty small tippet rings, quite simply because it's pointless to have big tippet rings. These are great. They're rounded, so the edges essentially won't cut into your leader. It's quite similar to tying directly to a hook eye essentially. They're incredibly strong, or certainly for the size they're incredibly strong, but you won't need that strength in what we're going to use them for as such. But right, so what we're going to do is going to get one of these tippet rings. So just like so. What you then need is some fine braid. So I'm just using this. It's like 0.12 millimeter and pretty strong as well. Certainly more than strong enough for what we're going to be doing with this. If you haven't got fine braid, rather than actually buying fine braid, you may just use some tying silk or tying thread. That can work. Just make sure that it's a pretty strong tying thread for the reason you're going to see in a minute. Okay, so then we're going to take the length of that braid or tying thread. The reason why we're using braid or tying thread is quite simply because it absorbs glue. You'll see why in a minute. You can do it with nylon, but obviously nylon won't absorb the glue because it's non-porous, but the braid or tying thread will absorb the glue. So we do need to use, again, the braid or the tying silk because it absorbs the super glue. So what we do then is we take this right, so pick a hole right in the center of the bung that we've just cut, and what we do with that is we take that right up the center and we try and pop it out on that flat section that we've cut. So just try and pop it out right in the middle. There you go. See, that's coming through perfectly, and just press it through on the table. You can see now that it's just being fed through, which is perfect. To slide that up and onto the braid. So hold one end of the braid and pull the other through. Okay, and you're going to slide that off the needle. What you then do is you pop the tippet ring. Sometimes easier just to put a bit of spit on your finger just to pick these guys up, and feed that through the eye of the tippet ring. Will this behave? Yeah, it looks like it will. Come on. This is catching the edge of the braid there. Okay, so what we've done now, we've fed the tippet ring on, and that just slides down onto there. What we then do is we re-thread the needle. Just like so. And what we then do is leave the tippet ring on the loop, and we take the needle back through the center. Don't use the same hole, so just take it right through. It doesn't have to come out right accurate on the top. There you go, that's coming out just to the side, which is perfect. Just like that, and then just draw that through. Just need to push it down a little bit more. Draw that through, just like so. What you then do is keep drawing that through. Okay, so there you have it. So you can take that needle off, we don't need the needle. What you see then is that is stuck at the bottom end. You have these two tag ends here. So this at the moment will just slide around. Sorry, just move it into the shot. You'll see it just slides around. Yep. So what we need to do now is we need to put some super glue on this section, and then when we draw it up and into the center of the foam, it'll actually bond again because of the porous nature of the foam and the porous nature of the braid or tying thread. Both will absorb. So let's just get my super glue. Just gonna dab a bit of this. Okay, so what you do is just take your super glue and dab that onto the braid, just like so. Put it on the bottom end down here, because essentially you're going to be pulling back through, so all of this section which currently hasn't got any super glue on it will get the super glue as you pull it through. So just really carefully just draw that through. Try and get the eye as you draw through. It's better to invert it as you do this, because then the eye or the tippet ring actually stays protruding downwards. And let's pull that down and through. So that's it. So now basically the braid that's in the core is bonding with the foam. So that's pretty much it. You can see I've got a bit of super glue on the tippet ring there, so just make sure that doesn't totally close up. I'm just going to take the needle back through. Okay, perfect. So all that's left to do now is to trim these little tag ends. Sometimes not that easy actually with braid. If you've got braid scissors, great. I'm going to have to use these tying scissors. There you go. So you don't have to be too neat because it's just braid anyway. It's just going to flop around rather than protrude like a nylon tag or anything. Okay, so that's the piece done. What I then do is just take a Sharpie, a black Sharpie, and then this bottom section here I just colour in black. The fish won't notice it as obvious as a yellow section, so it just helps it blend in a little bit. Job done. Okay, so that's the finished bung or strike indicator. So you got two ways now. So because of this tippet ring, you've got two different ways of attaching this to your leader. So I usually fish. You can fish this on the end of a tapered leader or a poly leader. What you can do is so I've just got a poly leader here. So you see the thick nylon. What I would do is bend it over into a sharp point. You can even slightly bite down on that just to create a bit more of a point. But then it's all you need to do is pass that point, if it's small enough, just need to do it slightly smaller. It's quite thick nylon, so obviously it needs to be smaller than the diameter of the hole. So that just goes through like that. And then slide that over, open up the loop and pull it back down. So the beauty of that is that it will make it adjustable, so you can just slide that down, but essentially then it just rides like so. Yep. And it's pretty solid in place there actually, but again, if you want to just take it off, so it is totally reusable, you just open up that loop, just feed that back through. This is still a bit soft with that super glue, so you have to bear with me. Just like so, and then that makes it totally reusable. And again, because the it's not going to bite into your nylon. You can see a bit of markers come off on there, but it's not going to bite into your nylon because these are rounded edges and it's like attaching to a fly. The way I prefer to connect it though is as follows. I actually put up the nylon, I put the float stops, little float stops. That will cost you about £1 for about 15. They're small, but they're very aerodynamic and don't weigh virtually anything. So what I would do is slide one up your poly leader or up your tapered leader, then just slide the nylon through the eye or through that tippet ring, slide it up. That's all you need to do then is on the other side, just get your tippet rings, take it through the loop, slide one up and onto your nylon like so, and then slide it down, and there you go. So that's a totally adjustable bung or strike indicator. So you can adjust your depth without damaging your nylon at all. And these are just silicone. They grip pretty well actually, but again they won't damage your line whatsoever. So it's a pretty perfect approach to fishing these indicators or bungs. I would normally fish, because of you're using the float stops each time, I would tend to then use this as my bung or indicator leader. So essentially this is ready to go like this each time, so then you don't need to keep using float stops each time. But anyway, so that's just a really simple but effective way of creating your own bungs or strike indicators. Again, you can just adjust the sizes if you need something that's a bit more buoyant. If certain colors under certain lights work better from our eyesight perspective, so you can carry just a small range of them. You don't tend to lose that many, so they will last you a very long time. Anyway, hope you like that little trick and tip.